Good afternoon and welcome. We are in Kingdom of Belgium, and for La Fête de la Francophonie, a French-speaking festival, I'm very happy to take my Belgian roots and to share them with you. So Belgium is an amazing country. Very small, we are very tiny, but it doesn't mean that we are not super strong. And when it comes to food, Belgium has nothing to envy to its neighbor, Germany, France, Luxembourg, Holland. We are very proud of what we do. My name is Emmanuel Strobant. I've been in Singapore for over 20 years. I was born in Belgium, became Singaporean a few years ago because my family and my heart is here. But you know, you cannot take a lot of things out of me, and each time I think of Belgium, I can think of recipes, I can think of food, I can think of family, I can think of big table with a lot of food and beer and sharing things. We are very good for chocolate, we are very good for beer, of course, and a lot of little things you may not be aware of, like grey shrimps, for instance. So today I'm going to show you a very simple recipe. First thing we're going to be using will be grey shrimps. So grey shrimps are not always easily available. The grey shrimps are something which is really a unique product from our country. It comes from the North Sea. As I say, as a kid, I remember having the horses carrying like nets to drag the shrimps, and we used to go to the market. My father is from La Panne. We used to go to the market very early in the morning to get all the little shrimp. One of my favorite recipes is grey shrimp croquette. The little croquette out of it, and then we deep fry them. It's really crunchy, it's very nice. It's one of my very best memory about Belgian food. But let's start with something simple. Belgians are known for frites and mayonnaise. That's something we use with mussel. So let's start with the mayonnaise. A very simple thing. You can obviously buy your mayonnaise at the shop. You can buy mayonnaise into bottles. There's a few brands which actually are not too bad, but nothing like a real homemade mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is super simple to do. Just a couple of eggs, bit of oil, lemon, vinegar, some form of acid, bit of mustard to lift, and that's the base for the sauce today. So we'll start with 2 eggs. We just take the egg yolk, about a tablespoon of mustard, and then we're gonna simply add a little bit of oil into it. It's called an emulsion. We simply start incorporating oil slowly into it. And then from there, I can add anything I want. It can be like vinegar, for instance. I like my mayonnaise with lemon juice. That's one of the traditional way we do it at home. I would just incorporate a bit of lemon inside it. This is something my dad used to make at home very often. We're gonna add a little bit of tomato ketchup. And then I like to spice it up with a little bit of Tabasco. Now here it's really up to you. If you like it spicy, this is what I like. A little bit more. If you don't like it too spicy, you can even omit it. Now add a pinch of salt into it. And of course, taste your food. Okay, we're good with that. Next, we're going to do a little piping bag. This is for something later, but I want to show it to you right now. So we use non-stick paper. You have them most of the time in rolls. You will find that in the supermarket. And I will extract a little triangle. Something about that size. And then what I want to do is to roll it away. So I'm taking, you see the triangle, I take a long part of my triangle, and I'm going to just roll it. To make like a little cone. And go be like a mini piping bag. And from here, I'm just going to fill 1 tablespoon of dressing inside. later. It's one of my little secret. Oops. I just fold it, and then for later I will have very precise little dots of sauce if I need them. Next, most important part is the tomato. To use, they're called Amela tomatoes. They're tiny tomatoes. They're not from Belgium. They're actually from Japan. Most of really, really beautiful tomatoes, super sweet. One of my very favorite tomatoes. And like most of them, all one need to do is to remove the little pedicule here. Very simple. Oops. And then there's many ways to do tomatoes. Most of the time I see which works fairly well. But one of my favorite ways to do it is to actually blowtorch the tomato. And when I blowtorch the tomato, I not only add a little bit of flavor into it, but I also remove the skin, which is the original idea behind it. So what we use, most of the time I will use a blowtorch and just see how quickly it turns black. And that gives a very nice, you cannot smell it, but it really gives a very nice flavor, a very nice aroma. But very quickly, that do the other side. You see how the skin comes out on my hands? And very quickly, I drop them in ice water to stop the cooking, very important. And from here, all I have to do is to peel them. So you see how the skin comes very, very easy out. It's like, you know, it's super easy to peel a tomato this way. So with my tomato now, what I want to do is to empty it from the base. So I'm going to take that part here, which I don't think is very pretty. I'm going to remove it, and like this way I present it, I will present it only on its pretty side. Now the idea is to empty it. I don't want to remove too much flesh, but I have to remove all the seeds inside. So for this, it's fairly simple. I just need to make a little cut around. Little fruit. I will try to make sure that the tomato remains whole without making any of the tomato. And maybe the most delicate part here, frankly, it's just making sure we don't break it down. And again, those are very fragile tomatoes. If we have other type of tomato, we take a Roma or the local tomatoes, they're a little bit more steady, so no problem, it's easier to empty. Alright, I think we're pretty much ready to finish it already. What we'll do, about maybe a spoon of the sauce we used earlier. Gray shrimps. And then obviously in here I can put any spices, anything I want. I like lemongrass, I like chili, I like curry. Favorite spices pretty much. So what I want to do now is to add a little bit of those elements into it. For chili, I will just put a tiny bit of red chili to spice it up. We already have the Tabasco, but I think a little bit more chili won't hurt. And after all, we're in Singapore, so you like the chilies here. For lemongrass, what I like to use is obviously only the white part. Extract the middle part of it, the soft part, which is that little part here. Cut it in half and use the back of your knife, crush it. It's already pretty much crushed. What I need to do is just to slice it. I have like to add into it. So last bit, tiny bit of coriander. Again, just taking the leaves out. Fine chop. So when we talk about cooking, there's one thing I really like to talk about. You know, when you chop herbs, it's not pressing. It's slicing. which is a movement I want to have. So with the herbs, I'm not doing this, I'm actually slicing. And the aroma coming from the herbs is very different. When you press it, you pretty much have no flavor from your herbs. But here it's so nice to use fresh herbs and to extract the flavor. What I want to do is simply to fill those little tomatoes with my shrimp mixture. Of course, those tomatoes are tiny, so I don't need a lot. I would probably eat 3 or 4 my own, just one big bite like this. I love them. So now, our favorite part, the plate. Very simple. Remember my little piping bag, which was here before? I'm going to just get a tiny part of it. And I can do little dots. Alright, I think I'll let it go like this. We're ready to eat. First course today, our grey shrimp tomato. So now the main course. Belgium is very famous for mussels. If I think of one national dish, it will be moules frites, with a beer of course. Now moules frites, always there's many. You put moule marinière, which is a white wine, celery, bit of fresh onion, bit of fresh parsley, leeks. We have cream, we can do cream mushroom, we can do all kind of different recipes. But one of my favorite is a local recipe. We use a laksa paste. And you may not be familiar with laksa, but if you're in Singapore, we've got laksa pretty much into any supermarket. So let's get started. What we do is few shallots. I tend to prefer shallot to onion most of the time for this kind of recipes, simply because I find them slightly sweeter. Next, a bit of garlic. If I think of Asian food, I would think that garlic, shallot and ginger, we fry it. It's like each time, that's the magic smell. Each time we cook something like this, the smell coming out is sweet. It's a young ginger in peeled. Small story in Liège, where I was born, there is a small island in a small side city called Visé. And we do a goose recipe. It's called Loa à l'instar de Visé, goose Visé style. And what is very particular about those goose, those geese, they live on a small island on the river. And in that island, it's that flavor reminds me very much of ginger. So when I was out of Belgium and I wanted to recreate that goose dish, used to do a cream and ginger duck. And that was quite interesting because it was really, it's childhood memories obviously, but it would bring me back home when we were eating the goose with that ginger scent. So, mussels, what we would call the flavoring first. If I was doing it with, I don't know, leek, celery, parsley, I would put all those components. We call it the aromatic. I would put all the aromatic first, and then I would put my mussels at the end. Mussels cooks fairly fast, maybe 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, when it's starting to boil. As soon as they open, they're ready. They will lose a little bit of the juice that would make the sauce, and then that sauce is just what you want to dip.